Everybody, I'm back with another video, and this video is going to be more of a player analysis of Jesse Lingard and how he's helping West Ham get into the top four and have an extremely successful season this year. So, before we start, if you want exclusive tactical content and a free copy of my book as well as a few other perks, become a member. The link is in the description below, and a membership is just exclusive content to the YouTube channel that I put out to all the members, and so check it out. Really exciting stuff happening there. And check out Keyframe, which is how I made this video, the program I use. Again, the link is in the description below, so be sure to check that out, and let's get right into it. So the first major point I wanted to make was Jesse Lingard in transition. When they were transitioning into their offensive attack, they transitioned very vertically, and the combination between him and players in deeper areas joining the attack, as well as Antonio in front of him, just played off of each other really well, with Antonio as the point man, with Jesse Lingard just underneath him to collect the knockdown or the second balls or any layoffs that Antonio would get, and his hold-up play was extremely well when he was in. So with Jesse Lingard in this space just behind the midfielders of Wolves, it gave them a lot of problems and gave him a lot of space to then drive into at the back four and take advantage of this offensive transition where Wolves were not structured yet. So now we see the first goal, and Jesse Lingard here has the great decision making to know when to release the pass and when to dribble. So for here, we have to take note of Antonio's exceptional run too. All forwards should watch this goal because Antonio's run creates the goal by far and was a great run. I'm just going to highlight here before it happens. Antonio runs diagonally across the face of the central defender, so he sees him, which will then force the defender to follow his movement, thus creating a huge opening for Jesse Lingard to have the presence of mind to drive into and then slot the finish home for the goal. And now we'll see in the second picture, Antonio, the player we just highlighted, is on this side, and Jesse Lingard is able to drive into the box virtually unmarked and slot the finish. And his finish was with the inside of his foot into the far post, which is a higher percentage you're going to score these finishes because the near post is typically cut off by the goalkeeper's angle. So inside the foot finish into the far corner, slightly raised to take advantage of a sliding goalkeeper. Now in the defensive phase, for the most part, West Ham played a 5-3-2 with Jesse Lingard and Antonio as the two forwards, but then when Jared Bowen came in for Antonio after the injury, the structure remained similar with a few just minor adjustments. But with Jesse Lingard and Antonio, Jesse Lingard played very much as a 10, and their job was primarily to control the central corridor and control the pivots in their possession so they wouldn't have free access to their pivots, which would then lead to progression through the center. So from here is primarily maintaining compactness in their 5-3-2, as we see the wing back jumping, and their structured defense. And as we'll see later, Jesse Lingard usually favored, even in the defensive phase, to play in the left half space, which would then mean for him, when he collects the ball in transition, he would then be driving inside onto his right foot, which is when he's the strongest and when he's very dangerous. And then we'll also see a few situations where he becomes left-sided midfielder, and when they defend deeper in a 5-4-1 with then a lone forward ahead of him. So here's the example of Jesse Lingard playing in the half space from his right foot. Will extend the half space just slightly to prove the point. we have more or less the half space in this area. Jesse Lingard comes in the left half space if we're going the West Ham's direction. He's able to drive on his right foot, and then he's really good at reading defenders. As we see, the defender's orientation is to cut off the pass, so this cues Jesse Lingard to then take the ball and take the space and use the defender's body orientation against him. And these are things to look for when in possession. For when Jesse Lingard is in possession of the ball, he's very good at reading defenders when he's in possession and taking advantage of the space that's conceded by individual defensive actions. Now, the next thing that led to the second goal, we can highlight Jesse Lingard here in the wide area. And another subtlety in his game is he has the freedom to roam into the wider areas, and by playing in the wing position a lot for Manchester United, he has the ability to make these runs in behind, taking advantage of the defenders when they do have their focus at the ball. And we see the player on the ball here spots the run of Jesse Lingard in behind, so Jesse Lingard's able to start his momentum to gain speed and then take advantage of the static defender. And this is all possible because he drifts into the wide area, and the wingback recognizes it on his side and comes just slightly narrow to then attract the Wolves defender towards the narrow wingback rather than Jesse Lingard. So then here, after he performs a little Burpa spin, it falls to Masoku, who then arrives at the ball and is able to cut it back into the box for Fornals. And this is how West Ham scored their second goal after the run is played, and all starts from Jesse Lingard drifting into the left-hand wide area. So now a little more structured possession with West Ham when they play with two central midfielders. Jesse Lingard again typically played into the left half space or even the left wide area, causing a positional interchange from the wingback and Jesse Lingard. That was very situational and was up down to the players. It wasn't a rehearsed action that would happen every time. It was used very sparingly. And then on the weak side, with the two holding midfielders, we have Fornals, who defensively played as a right central midfielder. He would then go higher and again would have more freedom in the advanced areas, with then Antonio or Jared Bowen later in the game as the forward. So now, defensively, we have again Jesse Lingard underneath Antonio, and Jesse Lingard being a little bit more mobile. He is able to then come across and stop progression of the central defender in the ball. So these two pairing complement each other quite well because of the use of their cover shadows and the distances they take up between the holding midfielder and the central defender. They wait to time their press, and Jesse Lingard often will time his press so that when the defender advances the ball, he then uses his cover shadow and presses the ball to then try and isolate possession. But here we see the left wing back, it just jumped slightly, causing West Ham to play in a 4-4-2, and this is just down to a versatile left center back and a left wing back. So here, another strength of Jesse Lingard in possession and in transition especially is transitioning offensively in tight areas. So here between the lines, we have Wolves defenders effectively pinned by the advanced West Ham player, as we see positioning himself between two Wolves players, then gives Jesse Lingard a bit more time, and his body orientation, his hips are almost at a 45-degree angle with the ball, which will then take advantage of the space in front of the defenders and take him to his teammates, as well as giving him the option to perform a false reception to take him back across inside onto his right foot. So just the body orientation and these little movements in reference to the ball, they do make a big difference and shouldn't be overlooked. So now just seconds later, we have again Jesse Lingard playing between the lines and still in more of a transition phase offensively, not a very structured attack. We have his ability to find space and find strong passing options to then break lines and be on the end of it. And then here, he'll receive the ball on his back foot, his left foot, and be able to then look to drive at the back four. And then when he's in these positions between the lines, we can show the high density, the players around him, and the lack of space that he's given. He has the presence of mind to know when to slow the game down and prioritize control, and when he should drive at the defense and take advantage of the space. As we see here, he has a presence of mind to slow the game down as they didn't have a good situation going forward, and he waits for help and then move into the wide area to then look to progress and get into an assist zone or get numbers into the box or just circulate the ball and maintain possession. So here, going off of playing between the lines, it has a lot to do with his ability to make passing angles and move in the blind side of defenders. So here, with the wing back coming off the wing, coming more narrow, passing angles open up in behind and in more advanced areas. And here we can just see Lingard look to move inside the box and access the assist zone, which is the highest percentage of assists when passes come from this angle back across goal. And we can just highlight this assist zone, and so his ability and awareness to access these dangerous points on the field, should be noteworthy, because one, playing between the lines is one thing, having the correct body orientation another is another thing, but to be able to find the most dangerous spaces on the field and create positive passing angles into these areas is a real game changer, and it has been for West Ham. So here again, we can see one of Jesse Lingard's most common positions is just underneath the forward in transition with wide runners, as we see here, and his ability to then carry the ball, narrow the defense, and then find his teammates just ahead of him. So as Jesse Lingard carries the ball, he attracts a massive amount of Wolves players. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 players all around him. As Jesse Lingard's on the ball, we can see him right here, thus creating an imbalance in the team and creating huge amounts of space in behind as well as on the weak side. So we see the space in behind for West Ham, as well as the space on the weak side to then access, but Jesse Lingard looks for the final pass. And we can see that here with Jared Bowen just running beyond him into the last third of the field to then look to exploit the 2v1 that's left. So even by attracting these defenders, he still has the ability to pick out a pass and slow his train of thought to then execute the quality that's needed. Now, last thing defensively, last two pictures, we have Jared Bowen coming in and playing with Lingard. And then this is what I was talking about with Jesse Lingard using his cover shadow. When the defender commits to progressing the ball, Jesse Lingard has good timing and good awareness of the body position of the defender and being able to use his reference of Jared Bowen and his cover shadow to block off any inside passes as well as press the ball into a less effective area, which would then be the wide area or somewhere deeper. And now the last situation is when West Ham were defending a bit deeper. Jesse Lingard would come into the wide area and just play as the left-sided midfielder in a 5-4-1 with then Jared Bowen as the lone forward. And this, even here, gives him the opportunity to stay a bit higher when they are still defending in a low block, and in transition gives him the opportunity to even drive more narrow on his right foot upfield and run at the back line of Wolves. So that's the analysis, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.